kind of like a, I think people like Mike because I'm kind of a unique kind of character.
And I have
I love to
You just see how games and possessions are intense, how they mean more.
I'm not putting him on.
I think the U.S. is going to obviously win.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Nothing But Respect. We are the Aura Boys. I am Harry Krinsky. I am a podcast producer and now knower of the kind of great Harvard-Yale football tradition. I am joined by staff writer Patrick at Defector. I forgot staff writer of
just
of
a
the
general
world.
staff writer.
Patrick Redford. Patrick, how are we doing?
Very cold. How was the Ivy Bowl?
You know, the Ivy Bowl was good. For those who don't know, one of my jobs is I'm going to these college campuses doing sort of, this is a oversimplification, but it's like a wholesome, I'm schmacked style thing. The biggest thing that I noticed is the good people at Harvard and Yale far more cagey in front of camera than the good people of Knoxville, Tennessee. And there's probably an NBA comp there where like these people have been media trained in some kind of passive way since they were like 11 and got a 2200 on the PSATs. But they just like, I would talk to people. I would be like, hey, do you want to do this interview for the show, whatever? And they would look at me like I asked them, like, hey, do you want me to like keyword search a bunch of racist words in your group chat and see what comes up?
The meaningful difference here is that most of the people you interact with in the South think of the SEC as like something they're part of and trying to defeat, whereas the people you interview at Harvard, Yale think of the SEC as something that is investigating their company for a series of labor issues, and therefore they are trying to defeat. It's the SEC divide that's That's the meaningful one in college football.
Right. It's a very good point. Another thing, I read a very great little article from the good people at Low Lift Ask, which was centered around a question that I wanted to run by you, which was the question was, you're tapping into a professional managerial class slop bowl. What are you queuing up on YouTube? And so
I had this discussion somewhat recently, and I found out that like so many of my friends are just casual YouTube watchers in a way that I totally am not. Like, I think this actually might be a meaningful marker of the age difference between you and I. I'm slightly older than you. I'm like firmly millennial, whereas I feel like you're more Z-lennial. The only YouTube I really watch is like, this makes me feel 10,000 years old saying this, as I type in youtube.com/NBA/videos and I just watch highlight videos. And that's the only YouTube shit I really consume. A lot of times I'm reading when I'm eating my slop bowl for lunch.
That's not, and then look, that's why you do what you do, right? That's you're reading, you're writing, all that stuff. What are
you tapping into?
Well, one thing on the NBA thing, a really funny subplot. My brother actually tipped me onto this, which is, and maybe this is a kind of convoluted argument for the free market, but years ago, before the NBA released these condensed games, just like random like GSW fan Tom 12 would be releasing like condensed games. I don't know how the fuck they were getting
like the all
games.
possessions, like 45-minute.
Yes.
Oh man, that's
and
great.
They were lit. But what happened was the NBA realized that they were just like, they had made this deal with the devil where you can like meme Jason Tatum and that's how they can cut into the NFL's, mind share. And with that came a basically complete disregard of their copyright laws. And with that became, being able to put these things on YouTube. And so what the NBA did was the NBA was like, fuck, okay, we have to do this. So that is why the NBA releases these videos, is because they were getting eaten alive by random Redditors.
That's amazing. I kind of like that strategy. Like, this is, I guess we'll sort of talk about this later, but the big difference between the NFL and the NBA is like the way they enforce copyright. And that totally shows you like that the NFL conceives of their thing as like a TV product and the NBA as like something that happens online. Like, it really is. I was trying to find a specific highlight recently and I realized like the best way to do that is not just like search for Twitter and YouTube for it. It's to like find the play and go to NBA.com, because you can just find video of any play that's happened in the last 5 years. We were like, the actual, the full text of this, I think, is somewhat interesting because there was a House of Highlights video from 2020 that we blogged briefly, and the title of it was Rajon Rondo uses a, all caps, ethnic sound to distract Kyle Kuzma. And there was a crazy emoji choice for it. And Giddy Nathan blogged this for the website, and I was recently going back through our "This is so stupid" tag on Defector, and I found this, and I was like, "What is this ethnic sound? I can't. This video has been disappeared from House of Highlights." And we just went to NBA.com and found it, and like, there he was. He was making a crazy sound. But what compelled them to describe it as ethnic is the interesting unanswered question here.
That is, there is really a lot there. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, no, but I think you're right that that is the key difference between them. So to answer your question, my slop is mostly, unfortunately, like me at lunch is when I'm maybe at my weakest. I do usually let the algo do the talking. Like I'll just go to the YouTube homepage and it'll be, you know, Stavros Halkias defends socialism or whatever, or like just whatever, like podcast kind of like mush gets sent to me, and then I'll kind of poke around. My other kind of weird YouTube one that I actually use to sort of edge me back into working is back cracking compilations. I love like people, like just people getting their shit fucked up.
Hell yeah. So, I found this is way off topic, but I found this cat chiropractor, this Russian guy on Instagram who's doing like chiropractic shit to cat. Yeah. And like all the comments are just like, you're going to break this guy in half.
I saw one actually. I recently, in the same animal related thing, I saw a video, and this is a larger problem with social media, but I saw a video of a woman being like, you know, one of the gross things you have to do about pet ownership is you have to clean your dog's anal glands sometimes.
You have to express them.
Yes. Yeah, you have to express your dog's anal glands. And it's like this thing that actually looks like it feels fucking good for the dog, but you have to like dig in and poke their anal glands out, and then like a kind of substance comes out. And all of the comments are people being like, I am a lab tech. Do not do this to your dog. But it's not. It's presented as science. Like it's presented as like, this is what you should do, and then you have to, you know, check the comments. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to do that to my dog if I ever get one, which I will, but I'm not going to do it. So, you know, but it's a crazy world out there on Instagram Reels.
It's why you read the community notes, I suppose.
And you know what? It's a crazy world in the NBA too, which is why I wanted to ISO a little bit for our proper, or clear out, I should say, for our proper NBA journalist, and do a little. You know, we're getting meta here. We're talking aura. We're going discourse. In fact, thank you to all the people who tuned into the aura episode. If you're new here, we do stuff like that, but we also do real basketball. And so I wanted to ask you as a in the weeds journalist, what's like stuck out to you recently over, say, the first fifth of the NBA season?
Okay, at this point, having watched probably every team play 5 or 6 full games, everyone in the West, I've watched pretty much every game. There's one bullshit team in the whole NBA, the Wizards, but like the Blazers, the Jazz, like the Pistons, every team that was like bad or tanking over the past few seasons is like mildly competitive. Like the Raptors are, I don't know, 4-12 or something. And like, they're serious guys. They play hard. They want to win. And it's a sort of interesting moment for the parity in the league, which has like been something that's been the movement for 3 or 4 years, but that's like getting increasingly flatter as just talent levels get higher. And I think that means like every game is now like pretty competitive. Like I watched the Nets beat the Kings at home last night, and like it wasn't bullshit. Like they were playing hard. And like the thing with tanking that's always been interesting is that it's more of a structural adjustment. It has less to do with like players not competing on the court until like, you know, March or April when they just pull the plug. But even then, it was fairly easy to be like, okay, if we just get a bunch of young guys, like we'll just lose to the veteran teams and win 20 games or whatever. But like as the level of young guy is getting better, the worst teams are just like competing at a much higher level. And I think also like the changes to how teams play offense and like shoot threes can really just like wildly vary the outcomes. Like the Nets were 19 of 35 or something last night. Like that you're just going to win if you do that sometimes. So that's one interesting trend. What do you think about that?
I've noticed it a little through my Warriors lens. Like we were in a tight game with the sort of decimated Pelicans team, and I remember like texting my dad, my brother about it, of just like, we're actually playing well. They're playing well. We're playing hard. It's just like this is a good NBA team. Much gets talked about how the negative impact of paying these players a lot, because it's like, oh, they're zoning out at the top. But now that there is so much money for a middle-class basketball player, there is a tremendous incentive to be Tari Eason and be like, I'm trying to kill whoever I'm playing against so I can become a starter, so I can make generational money as a starting three guard or three man. So I wonder if that is a product of this like large, slow trend that I think is good. I mean, I like the parody.
I think it's downstream of like the professionalization of all the lower levels.
Right.
So it's kind of, I think maybe we talked about this earlier, but it's kind of like AAU getting more competitive, but also like people realizing that you can make good money being a Tari Eason guy. So not every player is just doing real hooper shit at the lower levels. Like they're learning how to like rotate and like pass at a high level and things like that. And the other sort of co-related trend, which you hinted at earlier, is depth. Teams are playing a lot more guys. We've seen this now, like with a lot of teams like dealing with injuries. Like this is a way to mitigate against the effects of that.
Right.
And there's this sort of emerging class of teams that I find really interesting, which is like sort of different versions of the Oklahoma City Thunder experience. So the Thunder, like super deep. They play like a crazy style. Everyone goes super hard. There's no wasted possessions on either end. I want to run some versions of the Thunder by you and get your take. I think the Clippers are millennial OKC. Everyone's like around 30 or 31. They're all vets, but they play like that same crazy swarming style, except instead of Shea running the show, it's just James Harden like bumbling his way into like the most unethical 25-12 you've ever seen.
I'm all in, and this is that specifically was very clarifying for what you're talking about. I'm now seeing a kind of like cornucopia of different OKCs with different personality disorders.
Yeah, the Thunder belt is wide. The Magic are one-sided OKC to me. They just play crazy swarming defense, like kind of like OKC does, but at a much higher level. And they're always playing with like a center on the court, but also like Suggs and Anthony Black and KCP are just like, if you have those three guys guarding ball handlers, like you're just not allowed to dribble around them. Right. If you'll permit me a stat, there's like this sort of theory on like modern offense's strategic victory over modern defense, where it's like by spreading teams out, you're basically having to decide, do we want to let the rim be open or the perimeter be open?
Sure.
And the Magic are like the one team that doesn't allow either. Like opponents shoot they like shoot the least amount of shots at the rim and at the three combined, basically. Like they're fourth lowest in both, which is like a crazy way to be, especially without two starters for most of the season.
Right.
But they're 25th on offense, and like it's pretty much just Franz finding his bag that's like helped them win these last few games, which is a really fun way to develop.
It is when I have watched the Magic, the thing that jumps out to me is Suggs as a savant level pick and roll navigator from a defense, and kind of Dyson Daniels is also doing this sort of thing, which is this insane grace, because the pick and roll is basically an unstoppable thing in a 2-on-2 situation. It is, you can cover it and you can create these things, but what is supposed to happen when you run a pick and roll 8 out of 10 times is you are supposed to put them in a defensive disadvantage, which is why teams run 7,000 pick and rolls a game. Suggs has this insane ability to either go under and then sprint and contest, or go over and contest from the back. Like it's not just effort. Obviously, he plays really, really hard, but he does have a almost supernatural grace around the around navigating the pick and roll, and Dyson Daniels does too. And I wonder if that, talk about lower level professionalization, whatever. When you are seeing 10 billion reps of pick and roll defense from the time you are 14 to the time you're 23, you probably do have a second sense for how to navigate that say a millennial James Harden who dies on every pick he gets put on does not.
I think that's so true. And also, like, because the playing of defense is so demanding now, like, you have to be prepared to rotate. You have to be prepared to, like, essentially play as this, like, amoebic 5-man unit that moves around and makes decisions together. Is that, like, no young player is going to get serious minutes if they just, like, can't play decent team defense now. Right. Which I think is cool, but also makes the, like, Danielses and Suggs and, like, Keon Ellis type guys, like, really stand out, because, like, everyone, it's, like, one thing to be able to nail a rotation. It's another to just, like, not allow yourself to be screened off of an action at all. A cool sort of, like, detail that I've noticed with Suggs and Daniels in particular is, like, when a screen comes, instead of, like, fighting over or under it, something they do a lot is, like, spin around it, which, like, leaves them exposed for, like, 0.1 seconds, but all of a sudden it's, like, they have taken the element of surprise away from the ball handler. And I like the aggressiveness of a move like that.
I totally agree. And it's getting me thinking about how that is the sort of how you navigate the pick and roll is probably the most essential kind of defensive micro assignment in the course of a game. Maybe there's on ball ISO defense or defense at the rim or whatever, but this is pitching out pretty far, but I wonder if this trend continues. Are we going to start seeing more guards win Defensive Player of the Year? Because if you're like making, or at least being like, in these conversations, because basically Marcus Smart won off the backs of what I would describe as a Bostonian deep state intervention. Yes. When he was like the 11th best defender in the league and maybe the 3rd best defender on his team. And he won because of big fucking Smithsonian or whatever the fuck. But I do these as teams are going with less and less centers and sort of just being like, you know what, hit us at the rim, and more of these like ninja P&R point of attack defenders. I wonder if we could see that, though. We're a little while from that.
It's interesting. I think a lot of what makes defense so interesting to think about and talk about is, like, there are no real meaningful stats that can, like, measure, like, blocks and steals only get you, like, I don't know, 10% of the way, because it's such a team thing. And the reason why, like, Victor is probably going to win and why the Spurs are 9-8 is that, like, they leverage his gifts to allow other people to get way more aggressive. Like, on the theory that you want to take away the rim and the perimeter, the way to do that is to have a guy who you can't score on at the rim just, like, stand there, and then the other 4 guys can get, like, all up in your jersey and just not let you take open threes. And if you have someone like Steph Castle or Jalen Suggs or whoever in the point of attack, like, you're just not going to be able to get easy advantages to get anyone moving in the first place. And then, like, trying to disentangle that reality into something like Marcus Smart is a DPOY just seems crazier and crazier with every month.
I totally agree that these stats are largely silly. The only one, and it's almost a dumb guy stat, but it comes back around. I did hear some staggering stat about Dyson Daniels' deflections. Yes. That he's like, has like 40 more deflections than the second place deflector. And that does make sense as an example of getting your hands on balls.
He has 102 deflections. Second place is De'Aaron Fox with 65.
Wow, oh my God, that is insane.
That's so nuts.
Yeah, good for him.
I think the last defensive point is this, something I like is that, and Daniels is the right guy to talk about this with, is that, like, aggression is now being rewarded, like defensive playmaking and being, like, basically, like, acting and choosing to make the decision and force the ball handler to react to you rather than the other way around is, like, that's the meta now, which I really like.
Right, totally. As opposed to kind of the previous meta, I think, was putting your hand on the stove for as long as enough just so you don't get a foul. Like, basically that was how could you play defense aggressively enough to the point where you're like edging. And in fact, it's funny, and Draymond gets away with this in a way that I think is cool. Another kind of example of the old meta was playing so combatively and insanely that you are actually forcing the ref to allow you to foul or else risk like getting an earful from Adam Silver for calling too many fouls and making the game slow.
This is basically it. Like the Kings have admitted this is their strategy, where it's like, okay, if we get called for 60% of the fouls we commit, but we commit multiple fouls in every play, that means we're going to get away with a lot more shit. Like
right.
some I don't, maybe I got the math wrong, but like you see where there's advantages to be found in like, okay, they're not going to call a foul on us every play. Like this is the Seattle Seahawks thing in practice, basically.
And I even heard that on a micro level too. I heard an interview with Bilal Coulibaly talking about how his leap has been because he has stopped respecting the players so much. And what that translates to is like fouling the shit out of Jason Tatum off ball before he can get the ball. You know, it's basically being like a huge dickhead and annoying to play against, I should say. You know, before you are even playing defense, you're already annoying them. Like that's what a good defender is, and that's something I always just whenever I'm watching the NBA, I'm like, God, this is so much more physical than the pickup basketball I play.
I know. God. A team that's not physical, who sucks, who like, I think we both kind of agree before the season is like kind of annoying in the same way. It's probably been the biggest surprise of the season is like the Sixers are ass. They're so bad.
And, you know, it actually ties into this effort conversation because, and we'll talk about this a little bit later where like when we talk about ratings kind of stuff and a very, I think, outdated but still brought up criticism of the NBA is like, they don't try hard. You know, the players aren't trying hard, whatever. Which it basically feels like has been debunked as not true. When you watch a team fall apart and let go of the rope, like the Sixers did for a few games, that Heat game and then the Charlotte Hornets game, I believe, that is what not trying hard looks like. It's like you get scored.
It's very clear.
It is. The lights are off, and teams are so good at exploiting lack of effort that it becomes like, oh, okay, they're getting layups every single time. That's what letting go to the rope looks like. And yes, the Sixers, man, they are. What do you kind of talk me through your DEFCON meter as all of this went on. So. I'm going to give you a few points and then you tell me where your meter was. There's the Embiid back-to-back comments, Embiid not playing for the beginning of the year, Embiid, the kind of fall apart games, the players meeting leak, the losing after the players meeting leak. Like, give me your where you were around all those things.
I think I wasn't really worried even after the point where Embiid shoved that stupid columnist guy. Because
I forgot about that. Yeah.
The whole thing with the Sixers is like, okay, their best two players are injured. When those guys get back, they make all this theoretical sense. Surely they'll right the ship when this happens.
Right.
I think it's Paul George producing a Uber driver sucked me off clickbait style image for his podcast, responding to the players only meeting story and just thinking like, this is not a serious guy or a serious team. And there comes a point at which like we kind of talked about this before the season with Dame, where it's like older guys, you will just assume they will continue their performance for a while. But like eventually, if you've just been hurt and fucked up forever, like that's kind of the player you become. Like this is who Kawhi is now, for example.
Right.
And with PG and Embiid just continuing to like pick up the same injuries year after year, it would definitely be wrong. I think it would be more unlikely for them to regain their past glory of 10 years ago or whatever than to just kind of be this version of who they are. And so you see basically how thin the margins are with every team in the East but one being like pretty competitive. And the fact that like you just kind of can't ease your way back in for 10 games or whatever. And then it's actually watching Embiid play that's been the most concerning thing. Is like he's just kind of not playing super hard. He's clearly like protecting the knee. And he can get away with some of that because his game is just kind of based around like standing from 20 feet and like pretending to do KD shit.
Right.
But they're also only fully activated when he's like grabbing rebounds, like trying to hit guys on defense and like really getting nasty with it. And like the physicality thing you mentioned, like he's just not doing that. And so if he's not going to be that guy, like they're just not a basketball team.
Yeah. A few places when because I was similarly with you where there was a subtext from media coming out around Embiid not being healthy to start the season that I have no idea if this is based in reality or not, but the subtext as I sensed it was people were being like, Embiid is not healthy, ... And what I can't tell you is this is a reoccurring culture of like him being lazy and like probably he could have been healthy had he treated his body better on a kind of macro 10-year career style way. I have no idea if that implication is true, right? Like I kind of from the outside feel like it is because I've seen the psychos, I've seen what peak performance Steph Curry looks like, I've seen what peak performance LeBron James looks like. Now, not everybody is like that, right? Not, there's plenty of NBA play like Dame Lillard is not getting the same shit for sort of letting age run its course on him because he's not whatever in Philadelphia or this lightning rod, but is succumbing to age nonetheless. When I started to really get scared for the Sixers was when I think it was maybe it was Kevin Arnovitz, maybe it was Michael. Oh, it was I'm forgetting the name. I'll say it in the show notes afterwards. But somebody I was listening to compared the arc of Embiid to the arc of Shaq, and which is I think a fair physical comparison, and was just like it ended quickly for Shaq. Shaq was Heat Shaq, which was kind of lumbering around but still effective, could figure it out, and then it was like Phoenix Shaq, then it was Celtics Shaq, and then it was inside the NBA Shaq.
Yeah.
That was it happened quickly, and that the arc, if you squint, is like, oh, I guess, yeah, he's 7'4", whatever.
And if you're in a mobile heavy big guy like that, like having to play this modern style that we kind of detailed earlier, like every like percentage point that you are off from your peak is just punished that much more because teams aren't taking possessions off and like you have to just fly around.
Completely. The podcast leak of it all from a team building perspective also set some serious alarms off. And I have a boomer sense about me with the podcasts. I am like and it's almost like because we live in a post-consensus reality world, that is almost my biggest critique, which is like, because even if player podcasts are wrongly perceived as lacking dog, because they are perceived like that, it is then bad to do a podcast.
Yes. It's because like you are showing that you are, whatever amount you're taking it seriously is not like, even if you yourself are locked in, you're not performing locked innedness, and so your teammates see that.
Yes, exactly. And other people are seeing it, and that they are like, that you are kind of inviting the criticism, even if it's wrong. It's the same way where like, if you say you love eating a Snickers bar before games, every game, and you like, that's just part of your routine, it's unhealthy, you like doing it. It's like, you're a fucking apex athlete in every other way, but you like eating a Snickers. There's a reason you don't do that on national TV, because people will be like, why is this fucking guy eating a Snickers bar? The willingness to do these kind of like blatantly not locked in performances after moments that so call for the opposite is concerning to me. It really does make me be like, Paul George doesn't have it.
Yeah, because like with everyone else being so good, you have to be like, you have to affirmatively go and like take shit. You can't just like rely on talent to passively get you 50 wins or anything. This dovetails with my Jared McCain take. So,
okay.
The one good thing about the Sixers, and the reason why they're so intriguing, is it's not just a case of like old bad team injured and therefore they're losing. It's they have this like insanely dynamic rookie who they pick 16th, who I think a lot of people were thinking would be a weird cultural fit in Philly,
Right.
because it's like a mean place where everyone posts about how much they love eating rocks and booing players, and the fans are fairly notorious. And McCain has like this theater kid energy, and he's like undersized, not super athletic, paints his nails, has 4 million followers on TikTok.
Right.
And I think people came into this season thinking this guy on a team that's going to win with like the pressure and the expectations is like uniquely ill-suited for this sort of environment. Before I get to my take, like what did you think about McCain coming into the NBA?
I think that was spot on. I was optimistic about McCain as he profiled as a basketball player, because I liked him at Duke. I liked that he took big shots in the tournament, like these kind of on this like boomer again takes. It felt like he was kind of profiled like a pro, and guards that can shoot, I'm always going to take a flyer on. I too, and I have since flipped, which I will talk about this, but I was concerned about the dancing. I was like, this is, if I'm equal opportunity, unserious internet basketball. If you're going to do a podcast, that's unserious to me. If you're going to dance, that is unserious to me. So that was my original take.
This is the theory. The theory basically is that his theater kidness and just his exuberant online personality is not a red flag, but in fact demonstrates what makes him so good, which is a willingness to perform. Like, we've kind of talked about how you have to like be able to like make quick decisions and take affirmative actions and like be willing to try shit. And the thing that makes McCain so good is like his total fearlessness. Like, he really has that dog in him in a way that if you looked as just like the phenomenon of him dancing as like, oh, he's unserious because he's so far away from this like false Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, like apex insane competitor. What you're missing there is he is totally willing to put himself out there and like try stuff. And if you watch him play on the Sixers this year, you see him, he doesn't pass up open shots. He like gets into the teeth of the defense, does brave stuff. He talks shit running down the court. And I think that's all like not downstream of, but is part of his willingness to be this performer. Like, he does not mind putting himself in the middle of actions and like putting himself in positions to fuck up, because that's the only place you can like do great stuff too.
I love the take. I have a few things. First of all, I agree, and I think it points to this one way to combat this kind of like boomer sensibility that I'm talking about is to not post anything at all, right? Is to just sort of be like, I am above this kind of thing. The other way to do it is to also give it the lack of oxygen it deserves by posting constantly, by being like a completely maximalist with your online performance and so over the top in not giving a fuck about what some dumbass commentator is going to think if you do dances, but before the draft, that it has the same horseshoe theory effect of being like, oh, this guy does not give a fuck. This guy is thinking about basketball, and then the other things he likes to do, which just happens to be dances or whatever.
Yeah, like you're either so locked in that you are totally unaware of like essentially the discourse, or you're so locked in that it doesn't affect you whatsoever.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
And the larger kind of thing that Jared McCain was making me think about socially is this gap between how millennials and Zoomers just sort of think about the internet, where we grew up as kind of like early internet folks with the notion, the kind of ingrained belief that what you post on the internet lasts forever, right?
Yeah.
People were getting canceled for tweets on airplanes and, getting fired for Facebook posts and blah, 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 blah. Gen Z now believes that what you post on the internet is immediately forgotten. and that is kind of closer to the truth in terms of my lived experience so far. And McCain is a perfect example of that, where he is operating. You cannot apply the millennial perspective to it, because it's as ephemeral to him as like a stretching routine. It barely exists.
Yeah, there's a permanent now that he exists in. And I think that's totally true. And it's been interesting to see how true it is in a lot of my own work. Like, a lot of the websites I've written for just don't exist anymore. Right. And as more and more content is produced, more and more of it becomes immediately irrelevant.
And I was having this kind of like post-truth, post-consensus reality Jared McCain thing, where I had the realization where I was like, I am constantly seeing videos of Jared McCain doing dances. I have no idea where they're from. I have no idea when they took place. I don't know if they were yesterday. I don't know if they were after a game. You know, it's just like it doesn't matter. And he has tapped into this thing where Paul George and some of these other people who are maybe attempting to do new media without the kind of like hyper locked inness it requires, or the hyper understanding it is, end up opening themselves up to the criticism of the like, why are you making this fucking like journalistic attempt at podcasting after a team meeting kind of thing. Yeah.
Because it seems to be pulling in different directions, whereas like McCain just min-maxing all of his SpawnCon and just like checking all the boxes, like doing the stupid YouTube thumbnails and all that shit. That's just like what you do as like a multi-platform content creator person. And the critique I think a lot of people would have had was that like, oh, his basketball is also just like another form of content, which like, even if that's true, what he's doing is like insanely cool. And like, he's producing all these great highlights. And like the fact that like he is willing to like, it's like he's not afraid, basically, is like the common theme here. And
yeah, totally.
He's like been in these environments where like you can't, if you want to succeed, you have to not be afraid.
I also had this, well, first of all, totally. And there's actually sort of an obvious about face I've done around this, which is like, of course this motherfucker was going to be good. He was doing TikTok dances before he got drafted. Like the balls you have to do that, to like know that PJ Tucker on your first free throw is going to like bump you and say the most insane thing to you. Jared McCain knows that. He's not an idiot, right? So there's that. This other funny thing where McCain seems to be an example of a possible light at the end of the tunnel for this weird player podcast media moment we're in is, again, like you said about pulling in different directions. The Embiid, it was so perfect that a podcast came out in concordance with we're going to find the leak of who's doing this thing, where players, and I mean this sort of neutrally, where players simultaneously feel entitled to secrecy and are attempting to kind of monetize and broadcast the daily life of a player, and that silly, intractable difference came to a head at with Paul George interviewing somebody else who was in this meeting about how it's bad that the meeting got leaked. You know, and again, I mean this neutrally because I guess I kind of want that too. Like, I want a private life and fucking hella money. But there is something intractable about that, and they're running into it. They're running into that difference on the highest level. Whereas McCain, as this post all of this Zoomer, is being like, "Here's me dancing."
Yes.
Like,
and because he critically acknowledges that it's all performance.
Yes.
Like the Shams article getting out there, the podcast, the having the players meeting because you know it will get leaked, because you know people will talk about you seriously. Essentially, this is all like, it's all trying to do different versions of the same thing. And because, you know, he is who he is, and he has this like Koulibaly, like total unfear of, and like, you know, maybe disrespect, maybe he should, of the people like above him. He is just like, he understands that it's all going to get flattened anyway, so you might as well be the one doing it yourself.
Completely. And perhaps to bring it back to this, like, the reason we are not worried about it, quote unquote, getting in the way is because it has always been there.
Yeah.
The distractions. There is no Jared McCain without the circus around Jared McCain. He fucking played high school basketball when he was 14, in the Los Angeles area. Like, we had Bill Simmons doing 15-minute podcast hits about him when he was like prepubescent.
The only critique that you can actually make of Jared McCain is I'm like one of the only people allowed to do it, which is that he grew up in a Sacramento suburb but chose to go to high school in Southern California. Some would say abandoning, some would say, eschewing. He does have 916 in the bio though. So I think, yeah, it's like he's part of this grand Didion-esque tradition of like leaving but feeling kind of bad about it. So actually I've talked myself out of this take.
Maybe
he's
it's
like,
good, yeah.
He's one of our truest cultural ambassadors, but also former teammate Jalen Wells did go to high school in Folsom, and he's like one of the best 5 rookies for the Grizzlies now. So, I can get down with it.
One final thing about maybe not one final, maybe we'll keep going, but here's another thing that I just thought of right before we started recording, and I'm fairly proud of this. Okay. Much like I think we can all agree that the cover-up is worse than the crime here, like that the ensuing leak, quote-unquote, of this meeting is worse than the fact that they had a players' meeting.
I think the worst is Embiid freaking out about the leak.
Yes, absolutely. And then that instantly getting out, it's all right.
Yeah.
What's the most famous example of this, or the cover-up is worse than the crime? Watergate. What do we call this? Wawa-gate.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say Watergate.
Watergate.
Watergate
also
is
works.
Good, though.
Wawa-gate or Watergate are really good.
Do you think Nick Nurse is pissed that this is all happening? Or I think if I was him, I'd be like, wow, I kind of have an opportunity to like remake the Raptors around like Maxey and McCain. Like if these old guys actually suck and they can like meaningfully tank, this could be like a pretty, I don't know, like I think I've just been so sick of the Embiid era process teams that like it would be kind of exciting to think about how can they actually build a team around 2 6-foot flat demons. Like that'd be, I don't know if it could work, but I want to see him try.
If you believe in Nick Nurse's savviness, which I, from my limited non-in-the-know vantage point, I do, then I think I agree with you, which is you're basically sitting there being like, there's no chance that we do anything unless Embiid locks in or gets the fuck out of the way. And so like, at least it's coming to the head in the first 3 weeks of the season and not, 6 months from now. So I kind of think if you believe in the Nick Nurse experience, you would see this as it's good that this is happening now and not in 6 months. If you don't, then, and you kind of are like, then there is some real, like, has he lost the locker room? Is he getting fired by Christmas type of thing? I don't think that's going to happen because just like everything I've read about Nick Nurse is like the real thing that I come back to around where I'm like, okay, clearly Nick Nurse is that an anecdote that other teams will study how he defends things. Ooh. So as to kind of like get a good reference point about like, okay, this is how the smartest coach in the league is defending this sideline action or whatever. So again, I don't know how true that is. It's scuttlebutt I've heard on a podcast. I don't know, whatever it was. But like, if that's true, then this guy fucking knows what he's talking about.
And also like they're 14th in the East, but they're 4.5. They're like 3.5 games out of the 7 seed. And a lot of the teams ahead of them are like the Hornets, the Raptors, the Pistons. Like if they go on like 1 3 game win streak, all of a sudden it's like, oh, they're back in the play-in. So
right.
The East being bad disincentivizes that sort of tanking, I think.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, let's hope. I mean, look, I do want the Sixers to be good because I want the downfall of the Celtics, and I do in general like I love how insane Philly sports fans are. They always have a spot in my heart.
Yeah, we should keep in mind who the real enemy is here. That's good perspective.
Right. It's important to remember. Right. Exactly. I want to now talk a little bit about some controversy in Kingsland, which then talks to a larger conversation. And I will say actually from one of the side effects of this podcast is maybe because I'm tagging you in more tweets or whatever it is, but the algorithm is sending me more Kings tweets. I'm learning. I'm getting exposed to more Kings
I'm so
drama.
sorry.
No, I like it because there's not enough like psychos on Warriors Twitter. There was one.
Are you fucking kidding me? Jim Park is like the craziest man alive.
Who?
Oh, I think that's his name. He's just like a total stan with no perspective who like pretty much his formative years were like watching the Warriors win. So now he like doesn't understand that other teams also have good players.
You know what? Maybe, and I'm willing to be wrong on this. It maybe is more like because I have enough sickos in close proximity to me. Like I'm not super tapped into Warriors Twitter. I was gonna say there's one woman who used to post about like sucking clay off every game, which I thought was very funny.
Swag.
Just sort of like constantly being like, I want to give Klay Thompson head. But then also kind of posting about like DHOs and stuff. So I like that vibe, but I'm beginning to be more tapped into Kings, the goings on of Kings Twitter. And I saw a controversy around a Kings pundit, Twitter pundit, so to speak, not to be demeaning, but quote tweeting a worldwide wob tweet, which was about how a random fucking Kings game took 20 minutes to end the last 2 minutes, and this pundit was like, why do we care what this guy says? And then somebody else was like, and then it gets into this dumb discourse. Let me first ask you, how is Kings Twitter going? What's going on there?
Well, I mean, they've lost 3 in a row now, and as I said earlier, they lost to the Nets at home, so they're 8-9. I think that makes them 12th in the West right now. Everyone is kind of freaking out. The vibes are really bad. There's like a lot of recriminations. Most of them I don't really agree with. Like, I think the thing to remember here is it's November 25th, and they've played 17 games, and it's fine. Like,
and they just put a new piece in. Like, of course, I feel like
yeah, and also like they were missing DeMar and Sabonis for a while. Monk has been out for a long time, and like their main issue is they have zero depth, and it's like of course they're gonna have they've basically been playing, I don't know, 10% worse than they should. But also Fox has been like one of the best 5 guards in the league. That's been fun. I think the problem is they forgot how bad the dry years were, and so one playoff run, all of a sudden people are freaking. It's like, you're not allowed to freak out now. If we're 8-40 maybe, but like, you don't know what it was like in the trenches. Like any win is great. Maybe this is just like, I've diminished my expectations so much, but it's a lot of recriminations, a lot of freaking out, a lot of tankathon screenshots are going around.
Cooper Flag, you will love cheering at Archbishop MIDI games.
So I've tried to stay out of it mostly. Honestly, my algorithm is mostly Orlando Magic tweets right now. But that Jazz ending did take forever, and Fox had he scored 49 in the game. It was great, but also like I drove someone to the BART station and back with the game on my phone, and like 2 minutes of game time elapsed, and like that was fucking crazy.
Yeah,
and I'm sympathetic to the larger point about like ratings and reviews taking too long.
Me too, and I don't actually even care to litigate the silly Twitter discourse about whether or not Worldwide Wob's opinion matters.
It's fine. Yeah.
Whatever. But I do, in this particular case, I along like one of my, when I think about the ratings discourse and kind of like the product, the short list for me is kind of streamlining the game as it relates to the pauses in the game. And so that was like, anytime I'm watching a game that kind of thing happens, I am always like, this is endemic of a larger problem, all this stuff. Before I sort of jump into that, I do want to make a larger point about ratings, because the ratings are down this year. People have their hands up. You know, last 4 or 5 years, basically, people who care about this stuff are freaking out about the ratings. And there's a few things to talk about here. There's one, which is like, we do not get a share of the revenue of the NBA, so why does it fucking matter? I think that's true, But I also do think it's a valuable conversation to be having around, like, is the game growing? Are we in a bubble? Whatever. Like,
yeah, you can't ignore it, even if you think, as I do, that a lot of the discourse around it is very cynical, because they don't really say this explicitly anymore. But most of the people who point to the ratings and then make a point after that are like Clay Travis, Ethan Sherwood Strauss types who say because they're doing wokeness.
Right. The point I wanted to make around ratings is it's this really funny kind of like load-bearing quasi-scientific term that I am not trying to say it's like a complete nothing stat, but it is in general the thing you say right before you're going to complain about the NBA and want to like lend a certain degree of science to what you're complaining about.
Yeah.
In a way that I'm kind of want to just call bullshit on, especially for there's like, I have a kind of, well, there's this obvious reason, which is like the way we consume TV has changed so drastically over the last 20 years. Both how many people, of course, consume TV and the type of TV they consume, but also just like literally think for 10 seconds about how you relate to your own TV. And you will understand that like any kind of like even 1 year outdated metric for kind of TV viewership is so clearly flawed. Like it is not too dissimilar from fucking polling data, you know? And also just gets at this like larger kind of thing about, well, what are we even talking about? If somebody is watching but they aren't really paying attention, are they? Is that a rating? Or if they are, because ratings are a metric that you use to sell ads on, and it's a very streamlined way to sell ads on it. But like if a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander endorsement sells 70% ads, whereas like a Lamar Jackson ad sells 20%, then the Shai thing matters more, even if 10,000 million poor people watch the NFL. I don't even know if that's true. I'm just, my point is that these in the attention economy, the debate about who watches an NBA game end to end is such a silly conceit.
It's applying 1994 terms to 2024 like reality.
And completely. And even if it is been updated to include streaming, which it sort of has, it is still just fundamentally misunderstanding attention and the way that people pay attention. And in general is used to leverage kind of people's critiques about the game as a big picture. Now,
yes,
the critiques are valid. I think there are plenty of valid critiques and plenty of conversations.
You think they're doing too much wokeness?
Well, no. I don't know about the wokeness, but I think I do think that some of the other kind of Sherwood Straussian critiques are valid. And it's actually funny. I listened to a chunk of a Sherwood Strauss, Ethan Sharp pod, and Sharp said something that I think is true, which is like true and kind of obvious maybe, which is like there's no one thing. It's like 9 headwinds that are all bumping into each other, and it's fairly impossible to tell which ones are which, but they're worth talking about. So I certainly don't want to talk about woke, if woke is killing the NBA, or if jersey colors are killing NBA, which was thrown out in this podcast.
Come on.
Which I don't think, again, I don't think that's killing NBA ratings, but I do wish they did less jerseys, but that, again, neither here nor there. I want to talk about game length. Do you have some, before I kind of get scientific with it, do you have any thoughts about this sort of ratings discourse game length stuff?
Yes, I think the one like development over the last year that shows how seriously you need to take declining ratings is look at how insane the last NBA TV deal was. They got so much money with like HBO or the Max people were like suing their way to get back into the TV deal, like wanting to overpay for all these games because the NBA realizes that like ratings don't really matter. And like what matters is sort of this like generalized attention economy streaming position, which they're clearly in a good place. And like it's going to be interesting to see how the Amazon thing goes. And so the fact that like they just got another insane TV deal despite all these declining ratings shows that like basically what you said, that like the terms of the conversation are not really like correctly applied.
Yeah, and it's funny. I mean, I don't know if this is the same people, so maybe this is a false equivalence. But like the same people, well, certainly the same people who are saying the ratings are down because of woke are the same people being like the free market and Kalshi betting are what we should be doing in the future. And it's like if you gotta hand it to the free market, they are bullish on the NBA because they shelled out like hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars for the NBA. So I agree. I mean, I think there's yes, basically it almost makes me think that we should be having a conversation about ratings, like about the efficacy of the word ratings as a useful metric is a much more helpful conversation than like, oh, the NBA is down on ratings. Like my fucking grandpa pays for cable in like 6 different states. It's like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
So
but the length of game and like the replay review thing is, I think, worth taking seriously. Like, I've been a pretty staunch anti-VAR, anti-replay review, and basically any context person like forever. Like, I think you could make the argument for it if they didn't get things wrong all the time. But like, the fundamental bedrock assumption of replay review is like, yes, this kills the flow of the game and takes fans out of it and like breaks up like something that like should be this like flowing enterprise or like a series of discrete events, but at least they get it right. But like, they fuck up all the time.
I did a little straw poll with some friends and it was inconclusive, but I was asking because I was talking about challenges because I am beginning to feel like that the experiment with challenges is basically been a failure. And I'm happy they tried it, whatever, but I'm kind of like, I think these are bad for viewership, basically, which I will talk about later. But I posed the question, on the whole, do you feel like the NBA gets more of the calls right than they did 5 years ago? And some people were like, yes, I feel like yes. And some people were like, no. I sort of lean no, or if they are getting more plays right, it is a basically negligible amount of more plays right. And you know, we saw a few weeks ago there was like back-to-back game-winning plays that they went back and said a travel was on the play. And my larger take essentially is similar to yours, though it's interesting because I come out on a different side a little bit, which is or maybe I don't, but which is the quest for completely optimized refereeing is an exercise in futility and should be thrown out. And what we should be doing is trying to make like a fun product, and yes, fans freak out about getting it right, so to speak, but actually on the whole they don't care, or they have made peace with the fact that it's a imperfect system.
I mean, there are 82 regular season games. Like, this is the thing with the NBA regular season is that it's so long that like, it's not that each game doesn't matter, but I would say that there's like a larger negative effect of having the last 2 minutes of Kings Jazz last 20 minutes than there are just like accepting the fact that over the course of a season, most things do tend to even out unless you're the Los Angeles Lakers. Like and that's like not a fun argument in the moment if your team loses because of a blown call, but like, I think like for hundreds of years, people have just sort of accepted the human fallibility of referees and like the law of large numbers mostly working in their favor. And like I said, like if more challenges would have helped erase this error, if refs were just like better and this could be called a lot quicker, then I could maybe hear the counterpoint for it. But like, I mean, I think this also gets back to my like Zen state at the State of the Kings is just like, it's a long season. And like, that is the main thing that we have learned about the NBA is like, there's too many regular season games. Oh,
well, yes. Okay. I'm going to give you some stats that I thought were interesting. So first, shout out to Andy, the Hoops Geek, who did a really sizable kind of audit of game time length, which I used. So thank you to this person, and it was very, very comprehensive. So thank you for that. A stat that surprised me initially was that between 2016 and 2022, the length of regular season games on the whole, so taking all regular season games, is has basically plateaued. Like, it is the same. And I was like, wow, they feel longer. They feel more annoying. Now, I want to complicate it a little bit because in 2000, so this is between 16 and 22. In 2017-18, that was the year that the Adam Silver and the NBA moved the amount of timeouts down from, I believe, 18 timeouts a game, so 8 each, to 14 timeouts a game, 7 each or whatever. Or sorry, 9 down to 7. They also made it so you used to be able to call 3 timeouts in the final 3 minutes. Now you can only call 2 timeouts in the final 3 minutes. So the plateau is actually a little bit of a fake plateau because we should have saved some time because there's less timeouts, or ostensibly less timeouts, all this stuff. The other 2 data sets are between, on average, close games, 0 to 5 point games, are 6 minutes longer on average than non-close games, and nationally televised games are on average 6 minutes longer than non-nationally televised games. So that does start to give credence to this notion of like, why do all these nationally televised close games feel like it takes fucking forever? Yeah. The other thing that this does is, with all these timeouts, and is that what the NBA is losing in commercial breaks, they're adding in live stoppage time, like not stoppage time in the soccer sense, but live,
just dead time if players standing around, basically. Yeah.
Exactly. And then it is also because there's closer games and more contested and challenges in the final minutes, it is high leverage dead time, which is like the time that you want to be locked in, the time when you are mining the most exciting, thrilling moments of NBA basketball. The reason you watch the damn fucking game is being kind of like attacked with choppy game management. And so that, to me, I don't know if it's affecting ratings, I don't know, whatever, but that to me seems like such a solvable problem, which is why it's so frustrating. Like, you could even apply a neoliberal lens and fix it with technology, or fix it just with like smart business. It's like, it just feels like such low-hanging fruit. And so
and like the theory of the replay center in Secaucus in the first place was that everything would get reviewed, so that if there was a challenge or a dispute, someone would just get on the phone with the referee and say, here's the correct call. And like the reason why I think they've gone away from that is like, the important thing is the performance of the truth. They're like, okay, the referees are stopping the play to look at the monitors, therefore, like, you, as much as this fucks up the flow, you can trust that they will get it right on the back end. And it's like, I think actually a lot of the free thinking Teal sponsored Web3 ideas you have at the back end here are like really interesting to speed the game up. Do you want to introduce your favorite?
Yes, I will give you some, because so in short, I feel like the momentum, I think the performance of the truth thing is right, which is that there is this focus on efficiency and getting it right at the expense of like what we're actually all doing here to do, the sort of Jared McCain of it all, which is like have fun and fucking do TikTok dances and watch a fun game. So yes, I threw some ideas at you. First one from my friend Al it's a very interesting one, which is players should just shoot the free throws of a foul while the play is being called, and you just void it if the call is different.
I totally agree with that.
It would be fun, and just like it would just like get it over with. And even like you could even do it where if they miss the free throw, you just keep playing, and then like it counts as a team foul. They can figure that out while live ball is happening.
This inspired a bad idea within me that's sort of related, where
tell me,
you take the team's free throw percentage over the first, 42 minutes of the game or whatever, and then
Peter
just
Thiel
apply
would love
it.
This.
You apply it at the end. So any fouls or free throw shots, it's just like, okay, we're just going to bank, another 2 attempted free throws. And so say a team like, just like the Pacers would have attempted 12 free throws over the last 6 minutes of the game, and there's like the automatic fouling. It's like, well, they were shooting 75% before, so we're just going to give them 9 points at the end of the game. And that if you're the fouling team, you're saying, okay, we're going to give them 1.5 points, but like unless they're making all their free throws, you're not going to reliably be able to get 2 points for the opposing team. The problem here is fractions, which is frankly not, I haven't thought this through enough.
That's not
if
your
they want to pay
problem,
me,
yeah.
I can figure out a solution. But yeah, this is very, very like optimized teal forward thinking here.
Right. And games, because then we can kind of, start discreetly, like if a player is healthy or has good politics, their points can have like a 0.002 BTC multiplier. That it's like, holy shit, Michael Porter Jr. just scored 37.3 points tonight.
Somehow, De'Aaron Fox has found a way to score in the thousandths of a point. No one has taken it out that many decimal points before. This is quite the rare factor.
Wow, the nuance of his point averages clearly speak to the nuance of his critical race theory points. That's so amazing for Bam Adebayo. Yeah, I'm just.
I like the idea the wagering. You mentioned Kalshi earlier. I think your best idea is the one involving betting here.
Okay, yeah. So this is again. I don't know. This is sort of like neo boomer what I'm about to say, which is that the twisting your hand demanding a replay review is an ugly sign. I would like it removed from the game. I hate the players asking for review from their coach. I just don't want to see it. I don't want it to happen. I wish somehow it could be a technical. Or we go free market with it and we go unlimited challenges, except the players must wager fouls to do the challenge. So like if Draymond fouls somebody and he really believes that it was not a foul, he basically gets into a Kalshi style smart contract with the ref where the ref, Draymond can be like, I will wager 4 fouls that I am right. And if he is right, then he goes to like, say he had 2 fouls, then he suddenly has -2 fouls, which he has like a number of more fouls to give. If he is wrong, then he fouls out of the game.
Yeah.
And that this creates this sort of like micro free market. And then I guess probably players like high foul players like Draymond would need to hire like quants to be like running microtransaction numbers on their stuff.
Yeah, and there's a strategy here of early in the game, like baiting the refs into calling fouls on you that you did not commit, so that you can win these bets. So it's like second quarter starting and Draymond's at -5, like he is gonna punch the shit out of these guys' dicks and balls for the next 3 quarters. Like, God, how did we let this happen?
That's exactly right. Yes. And maybe there's like a secondary market, like stable coins sort of situation where like we can have specialists like Kyle Lowry baits like 6 fouls, then he can trade his fouls to Kelly Oubre at like a point transaction rate of some kind. So that's something I was thinking maybe FanDuel can get involved. We can do some cousin Sal profit boosts for these as well.
And then halftime, you can have Red Panda on the court, or you can have the little kids playing basketball. But what you also have is a player and coach representative from both teams with the ref doing a live auction as they like do arbitrage. And they're like, okay, we're gonna set like the price for a challenge at 1.4 fouls. Can you underbid that? Can you overbid that? Teams can also like, again with the free throws, they can basically say like, okay, we'll shoot 80% of the required free throws if you can reduce a foul like per challenge or whatever. Like you can just anything can go into this.
I got it even bigger. What this does is it allows the NBA to take back Sundays from the NFL, because Sunday night, what's special about Sunday night basketball? The Chinese market is open Monday morning. So foreign Chinese money can come in and start, they love the NBA over there. They can start kind of like doing even more arbitrage, like open border, complete globalist foul point arbitrage on Jalen Brunson free throw attempts.
Yes. And this would then maybe compound or maybe totally undercut the like Western Conference imbalance thing, because West Coast teams are the ones playing those Sunday night games. So it's all of a sudden like, dude, did you see that Tumani Kamara is averaging 57 free throws a game for the Blazers? And it's like, yeah, because markets are open. Like this could really enable some like incredible regional differences. And so instead, when the expansion teams come and all the Western teams would have been lobbying to get their way into the East. Now it's going to be the opposite. They should say we should have 2 Western conferences. And just totally like, we're going to get an NBA team in Eureka, another one in Hawaii, like 2 in Juneau. Like, this is how we can this is how we can solve basketball, is 100 professional teams.
All right. That's great. Okay. The only real one I have is incorrect challenges should be a public stat. Like,
I think it is.
No, on the players. If they call for it.
Oh, I like this.
If they put their hands, because I heard somebody on a broadcast saying that teams internally count how often their players are right, so they can go to a player and say, "Dude, you've been wrong 7 of the last 10 times. We're not going to do it," or whatever. Which is smart. Make it public. I want to see it. I want to know. I want the inside the NBA guys being like, Marcus Smart has been wrong on 8 of his last 9 challenges.
And then they show him doing the thing, and everyone starts roasting him like, "Oh, here he goes again."
Exactly.
I was watching Sixers Nets the other day, and Dennis Schroeder did this to his coach immediately after what was obviously on him.
Right.
And Jordy did this incredibly smart arbitrage move where he kind of looked around, and then the second after the Sixers inbounded the ball, he started asking for a challenge and a timeout. And it's like, "Oh, I tried to have your back. You saw that I tried to defend you. Oh, I was just
smart.
You can't do anything about that." And it's that's how you preserve your challenge, but also you're standing with the player.
That's why the Nets are off to a fast start. They got
exactly. It's
coaching
just
between the lines.
It's what it is. It's arbitrage, and that's going to bring ratings back because people love markets probably. And
yeah,
we're going to marketize this shit.
I just thought of Arbitraj Gibson. Maybe we'll end it there.
That's perfect.
All right. Well, we got another episode in the books. Thank you to all the people who listened to last episode. We got a nice little. People are calling it the Ox Portello bump. But maybe it's also just a sign that people are fucking with the Nothing But Respect political project. So as always, keep rating and reviewing. If you guys do a review, most of them are people I grew up with or people in my college frat who I asked to put a review. But if you are a stranger and you do a review and you write something funny, we will read it. So that's a promise to you guys. That's a smart contract for you guys.
Yeah. Arbitraj Gibson. I'm gonna be thinking about that all day.
All right, and go read Patrick. Go read or don't read me. I got nothing. But go read Patrick on Defector. You got a Miami or a Orlando Magic blog probably out right now.
That's right. It's the reason why my algorithm is all like this is one of our business guys became a Magic fan. And so he and I talk Magic all the time, and they do this Light the Beam style thing called The Song. It's this hype song. It's great. And so every time watching them, I'm like, I want to hear the song. Just play that fucking song. And they've been playing it as hell. So check the Magic blog out. You got it. I saw you wrote a piece about the Terror Twins, which are also just extremely thrilling basketball to watch. So anyway, we'll talk Amen Thompson another time. All right, that's all. Thank you. Bye. Enjoy.